Did you know that most people who are in debt are not so for lack of money, but for behaviors that can be changed? If you feel stuck in this situation, stay with me until the end of this video because I'm going to show you the mistakes that keep people indebted, and more importantly, how you can avoid them. If you want to get out of this cycle and start building your financial freedom, already sign up for the channel and activate the bell so as not to miss valuable tips like this. When we talk about debt, many people believe it is a direct consequence of not earning enough. But the truth can be much more surprising. Most people in debt are not in this cycle for lack of money, but for habits and mentalities that perpetuate the problem. Imagine the following scenario. You receive your salary, pay your bills, but soon after an emergency happens. A car repair, a medical expense. And what do? Use your credit card or ask for a loan. This seems like the ideal solution at the moment, but that's where the cycle begins. Debt is mounting, interest is piling up, and before you know it, you're stuck in a vicious circle. Why does this happen? Often because people are focused on solving the immediate problem without thinking about the long-term consequences. Or worse, they believe that debt is normal and inevitable. This is the first mistake that keeps people in debt. One of the biggest villains in personal finance is what we call invisible expenses. Have you ever stopped to think about all those small expenses that individually seem insignificant? Those daily coffees, subscriptions to services that you barely use, or that gift to yourself that wasn't in the plans. Each of these expenses may seem harmless, but together they are able to drain a good part of your budget. These expenses are easy to ignore because they don't hurt at the time. You swipe your credit card and often don't even realize the impact it will have at the end of the month. But when you add it all up, you realize that it was hundreds of dollars that could have been used to pay off a debt or increase your savings. Most people in debt don't realize that they are spending more than they should on these small luxuries, which, when added together, create big problems. And the worst part, these expenses are so integrated into everyday life that it's easy to justify them. I deserve it. It's just a one-time thing, or it won't make a difference. But it does a lot. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest villains in financial life, interest. It's like quicksand. The more you try to get out of debt, the more it drags you down. Credit cards, loans, financing, they all seem like quick solutions to solve an immediate problem. But in fact, they end up creating an even bigger problem. Imagine this. You pay the minimum amount on your credit card bill, thinking you're in control of the situation. But the next month, the amount is even higher. What happens? Interest. And this interest accumulates month after month, creating a financial snowball that's hard to stop. Many people fall into this vicious cycle because, at first, it seems like a practical solution. But high interest acts like an invisible prison. You think you're staying afloat, but you're sinking deeper and deeper. The big mistake here is underestimating the impact of interest in the long term. If you don't face your debt head-on and keep pushing it along, the interest will build up to a point where it becomes almost impossible to get out of the spiral. In times of financial difficulty, the temptation to look for quick solutions becomes even stronger. And often, the impulsive choice seems to be the easiest. You buy something with your credit card, take out a personal loan, or even finance that item that can't wait, all to solve the momentary problem. But the big question is, these decisions do not come without a price. What seemed to be a way to alleviate immediate financial stress ends up being a burden in the future. Impulsiveness leads us to accumulate debt without realizing its real impact. If you look calmly, you will realize that each purchase made without planning, each installment you postpone, creates a chain of commitments that will weigh on your finances for months or even years. And when you try to do it all at once, you end up making the situation worse. The butterfly effect of debt is real. Each small slip-up multiplies, becoming a snowball that grows bigger and bigger. The fatal error here is to believe that momentary relief is more worthwhile than the effort of planning your finances in the long term. True financial freedom comes from thoughtful decisions, not impulsive ones. Unlike quick fixes and impulsive decisions, financial planning is what can really change the game. But here's the secret. Planning isn't just about doing the math, it's about changing your mindset. It's about stopping living in survival mode and starting to live in strategy mode. You don't have to be a financial expert to start planning, but it's crucial to be clear about your priorities. The first step is to understand where your money is going. A simple expense tracker can open your eyes to spending patterns you never imagined. Then it's time to set financial goals. It can be something simple like building an emergency fund, or something more ambitious, like paying off debt or starting to invest for the future. But the important thing is to have a clear goal. Without it, any financial action seems like a shot in the dark. With a good strategy, you'll find that high interest rates don't have as much power over you. By paying more than the minimum, prioritizing your debts, and making more informed choices, you can start to break the vicious cycle. The real trick is planning, not reacting. And of course, remember, it's not about doing everything perfectly. The financial process is full of ups and downs, but with time and persistence, you can regain control. And in the end, the feeling of being in control of your financial life is priceless. Now that you understand the importance of planning comes the hard part: discipline. Planning is one thing, but following the plan is quite another. And this is where many fail. The temptation to spend more than necessary, the lack of patience to see results in the long term. All of these can make you stray. Financial discipline is the key that opens the door to a debt-free future. And the good news is that discipline is something you can practice day after day. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be extreme, but consistency is what will make the difference. Small daily changes like reviewing your budget, avoiding impulse purchases, and focusing on paying off debt can turn into big results over time. One of the biggest pitfalls in financial life is the desire to have everything now. This immediacy leads us to make decisions that compromise our future. And financial discipline is the antidote to this impulsive behavior. When you choose to invest in your future instead of seeking instant gratification, you are taking control of your financial life. But, of course, this requires patience. Discipline is often a fight against our own nature. But remember, the effort you make now will bear fruit in the future. And when you start to see the difference in your bank account, in your peace of mind, and even in your self-esteem, you realize that all the sacrifice was worth it. And when you achieve financial discipline, you begin to realize that true power is not in earning more, but in knowing what to do with what you already have. Financial freedom is built one step at a time, and the biggest obstacle you need to overcome is the desire to give up. Now, when you look back at your financial journey, you begin to realize that it is not an easy path, but it is undoubtedly a possible path. By understanding the vicious cycle of high interest rates, planning wisely, and cultivating the necessary discipline, you build the foundation for a more stable and peaceful financial life. Make no mistake, the process is not linear. There will be challenges, moments of doubt, and even temptation to backtrack. But remember that true control comes from acting calmly, clearly, and with focus. Every financial decision you make, every small effort to save, invest, or pay off debt brings you closer to your goal. Financial freedom is not a luxury reserved only for the rich or the privileged. It is achievable by everyone who decides to take the first step and stay focused on the journey, no matter how difficult it may seem. So make your choice today. Stop hiding behind debt, temptations, and short-termism. Face the interest, control your impulses, and build a more solid financial future. You are in control. The power is in your hands, and financial freedom is a matter of time, effort, and decision. Now, go ahead and take control of your financial life. The future begins with the decision you make today. If you want to continue learning about how to transform your financial life, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Don't miss the next steps towards your financial freedom.